As said already, we're talking about Bavarian Champions, and we're skipping right into it. Bavarian Champions, not talking about FC Bayern Munich, one of the best football teams in Europe. Not my team, though. I'm Borussia Mönchengladbach fan. Munich. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Talking about Munich. Munich has a crazy ecosystem for startups in general. AI is a big, big topic over here. We've got 36 of the 50's biggest corporates sitting over here. At least BCG are the guys who say that. From BMW to Google to all the other Siemens, everybody is here. And we want to talk about Munich as a place of startups, because actually funding in that city is bigger than in any other German city. 1.8 is the factor regarding funding in Munich to comparison in Berlin. In Berlin, yes, please give it up for Munich. Average funding, and I have to get these figures, average funding in Berlin, 3.41 million, Munich, 6.37 million. And therefore, we've got a few founders from Munich that I'd love to welcome to the stage, and they will introduce themselves. Give a warm welcome, please. Welcome, 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 welcome to the party. How do we sit? You got the introductions? No? I'll just sit here? Okay, perfect. So now everybody will get a microphone. That makes it way easier. Guys, your names are on the board. I think everybody can get the picture from there to your faces, but maybe give a short, brief introduction of who you are and what you do to follow up then after.
Hi. Thanks for having us here. It's pretty impressive crowd here. Andreas, CEO of IDnow, started and sold a startup in the mobile ad tech space 10 years ago, and before that ran the German fixed net business here of Telefonica in Germany.
People from Telefonica are cheering.
Yeah.
I'm Andy. First of all, I have to explain that I'm sitting here not with the role as the host of Bits and Pretzels. I'm sitting here with the role of the founder and CEO of Ryte. What are we doing at Ryte? Can I show you? Slide, please. Tech team.
I know that sentence from tennis. They always say, slide, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I don't
Tech team is gone already? No.
Okay.
Oh.
So, very good.
That's the problem if you do a fair at Oktoberfest.
So, who of you knows and is annoyed from this kind of error? Please raise your hand. Okay, I think still everybody. Or an error like this, or this, if you have only Edge, for example, sitting in the underground station and thinking, oh my gosh, the site is not loading. This is what we with Ryte are doing. So with Ryte, you can monitor, analyze, and optimize the quality of your website. Right now, we are 80 people, headquartered in Munich and in Vietnam. We are very proud of 900,000 users worldwide, from small companies until big enterprises like BMW or Allianz. That's it.
Yeah, my name is Markus. I have no slides. We're in the holiday business. We are one of 5 founders, and we have probably Germany's, maybe next year, Europe's largest camper van travel brand. So we are renting out small camper vans. 11 stations in Germany, 2 in France, and next year probably 2 more countries. Having a little more than 100 employees in the 3rd year right now.
Hi there, my name is Daniel. I'm one of the co-founders of FlixBus, or apparently FlixMobility, as we do trains and other ground transportation as well. Well, our headquarters is here in Munich, and we meanwhile have more than 1,300 people, which make more than 120 million people traveling over the last 6 years with our buses. Thanks.
So, I'll just get right into it. Why is everybody talking about Munich all of a sudden? It feels like, for you guys, it doesn't seem like, because you're in Munich founding your businesses. What makes Munich special for startups, for founders, in your eyes?
So, it was a little bit of coincidence when we founded our business in Munich. Two of us are originally from Nuremberg and one from Rosberg. But as many corporates are here, all three of us used to work in Munich before founding Flix. And then, well, it seems a little bit more serious. So we just got everything we needed, even back 7 years ago. And that was the reason we just decided to stay in Munich, basically, as we were here already before Flix.
One of the others?
For us, it probably, yeah, I mean, we basically have our main headquarters here, and we have a lot of stations around Germany, so from those more than 100 people, there's only 35 people in Munich. But anyways, for even going international, basically the first country, it was very easy to get very good employees here in Munich. And so for us, funding, we don't need funding so far, so this is not our problem in Munich, even though there's a lot of money here, I guess. Finding good employees in all different kind of, I would say, spaces you need, different languages, works pretty well.
I would also say that as a company that's maybe slightly further ahead, IDnow has been founded 5 years ago. We're looking also sometimes for more senior talent. If you look at just the number of corporates here in Munich, you look at banks, consultancies and so forth, you also have better access to more senior talent than you will probably find in Berlin. I think I can talk to that because my previous company was founded out of Berlin.
Okay.
After school, I moved to Munich, worked with Markus and Niels, my co-founders, and then it was a bit like the same. The startup by accident.
You started by accident?
I started by accident, so because we had before an agency and saw the necessarily that we made so many things manually, which can be done much more easy by a software. So we wrote the software by ourselves, and then we saw, hey, it makes sense to offer it by the market. Then we founded Ryte, or this time it was called onpage.org. And so we haven't thought about what is the best place to found.
You just said it's more serious over here. You mean referring to Berlin? Because in Berlin it's kind of fancy to have a startup, or?
You said that. No, indeed it is. So fun fact, when we were super small, one of our first investors asked me to go to TechCrunch, disrupt something in Berlin. And I was really overwhelmed. And when going back, that was in the first year, I thought like, we'll never be successful. I mean, this is like, Berlin is so ooh.
Yeah.
And we just work in Munich. Apparently, it turns out just working makes much more sense than only ooh and talking. And I mean, I have to admit, as a Franconian guy, I love Berlin. I'm actually more often in Berlin currently, and I like it a little more. But I found, you know, the roots and everything, the setting to found and start up a company in Munich is close to perfect. It really works out.
Is it values like, just because you're surrounded by nature, everybody in Berlin always says, I moved to Munich for that one reason, seriously, because I think that the surrounding of Munich and the, let's say, time you can spend in the outsides is way more beautiful than the time that you can spend in the outsides in Berlin, because you can go to Uckermark, which is beautiful, but you can't go for dinner anywhere because there's no place to eat. But is something like that giving another value to company too, because you do have people who've got another mindset? Is that something that you can feel, or is it a little bit too big in the picture I'm painting here?
At the end,
well,
at the end,
politically correct, yeah.
So
we are under
every
us.
place has an advantage and disadvantage, and I'm thinking of Florian Schwantner from Runtastic, because they are sitting in, or were sitting in Austria, in a very little city, and Florian said to me, hey Andy, it's so cool to be there because, of course, it's very hard to get talent, but if you got it, then they wouldn't be distracted. So there are no events, nothing.
They can instead of 14 hours, they can do 18 hours.
Exactly. So, yeah.
But I just meant by the mindset of people, because I do think it's a different thing. If you, like you said, you live in Berlin, you love to go out, you love to party, there's a hangover the next day, and here it's more like, oh, I've been to the mountains yesterday.
I mean, there are reasons, right? We are at one of the reasons right now, not only BITS, but also the Oktoberfest. And
Absolutely.
Felix and I talked, I don't know, earlier that year, and I said, like, how do you manage to get Obama and all these people? And he said, like, well, it's Oktoberfest. So there are reasons, not only nature, but it's just Munich stands kind of for Germany, for Bavaria, for that certain lifestyle everybody knows. But on the other side, Berlin is the only real international city we have here in Germany. So disadvantages and advantages both.
But I mean, for attracting young, very good young talents, they look very much for the time when you not work. So taking your time off, going on the weekend, going skiing, going hiking in the summers, things like that is very important to make a good choice where you work, at least in our opinion.
But talking about talent, because due to the size of the city and due to the magic that city has, isn't it different? Because you guys are sitting here maybe employing how much people altogether? Something in the high 3-figure area, 4 figures maybe already? I mean, the good talent seems to be gone.
Well, you can attract more good talent, and I guess this is also something which for both and almost all of the larger German cities is true. It's not that easy to really import good talent from all over the world. It's kind of hard. No, at Kreisverwaltungsreferat, it's not so easy to get through with English, so we have to bring our HR people together with our new employees from all over the world to get everything done, because if not, it's like, passt schon, geh weiter.
Yeah, I think we have the same problem at IDnow. So we have an international team. We have a lot of engineering talent here in Munich, but it is hard to find talent, like for everyone else, but it's also hard to bring talent in from abroad to Germany. So I think that is definitely something, if you think about Munich and maybe accelerating a little bit the growth here in the sector that we're talking about, it's definitely something to focus on in terms of politics.
Do you feel something, because I had a panel like 2 before Hans Siegel, there was about the regulations, so the regulators, the politics. Is there something that you say the politics could do to support this place called Munich? To get these people over here? Because obviously there are a few things.
In general, yes. I'm not quite sure if it's particularly about Munich, but it's also about Munich. I mean, there are situations which are difficult for newcomers, which is, for instance, to get a proper apartment. And not because they're not well paid enough, it's just because if the foreigners, like some of the landlords, are like, you know, I don't know you, cannot even spell your name, you don't get an apartment. So there are certain things which are especially true for Munich, which is, I think, the living situation.
One of you? No.
Regulations always can be decreased, of course, and especially with founding a company as well. So it's not only with hiring new talent. I think it's right now it's so hard to find a company in Munich. You have to go to the notary and things like that, and at the end you are for 2 weeks only busy with these things and don't able to work on your product, and then with talent is exactly the same. So right now we have 3 people at our HR team, and I would say half of one person is only blocked with things like that to get talent from abroad.
No, but I think looking back, like let's say 10 years when I started the first company, it was totally different, and it improved a lot. And I think things like a conference like this helps a lot. Politics getting involved, getting money, getting programs, and things like that. So looking back 10 years, I think it improved a lot, but there's still a lot of things to do, I guess.
In the opening of that part, I said there's companies like BMW, there's Siemens, there's Allianz. How can these big corporates support this startup scene in Munich? What do you think? Or are they still?
They can. I'm sitting in the wrong place.
Maybe I should become Markus Lanz.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
Okay. Of course. So first of all, they should cooperate much more with startups. And I think with Ryte we had this very often, that especially at our first days, companies like Allianz said, okay, you are so young, we couldn't work with you because we don't know if you exist in 2 or 3 weeks. And of course, this could happen, but I think this could happen with every company. So this shouldn't be a blocker. And I think they should be more open. But what you have said, this changed a lot within the last years. So, but could be changed much more.
I think you see already a lot happening in that regard, right? So you see a lot of money that's being deployed in the tech sector. There's almost every large corporate, one way or the other, has a corporate VC these days. There is, what I would value here in Munich still, is a lot of people that are well trained and educated, and if they're ready to take that step out of a corporate into the startup or young tech world, I think it's a super important source for talent. Probably you're right in the sense of the corporates not being maybe ready to transact with smaller companies, but then that's something that's I mean, how would you like to change that? You grow, and they probably need to still feel the pain a little bit stronger that companies like the ones that we're representing here are important business parties to deal with.
Yeah. I think the good part is that the big companies attract very good talent, and they want to, switch jobs sometimes. So that helps a lot. And but on the other hand,
I like the way you're smiling.
Sorry. No, but on the other hand, I think it's very hard to get in touch with those people, and they look down and they're too big and you're too small, and you don't know if you're there in 2 or 3 years and there's no program that fits, or it has to be at least 100 million plus to talk to each other. And even when it comes to investing, or as far as I've had some talks, it has to be very big. And if you're too small.
But the good news, I think, with this is, still in 2 to 3 years, they will still figuring out the process, right? So if you're still there in 2 to 3 years, you can still sell to them.
So, I mean, the good thing is competition. Competition is always good. And meanwhile, at least for us, it never really worked out to partner up with them. But we're a little bit a specific company, being B2C and transportation. I can imagine for B2B companies, deep tech companies, which what Germany is known for, their corporations are much more fruitful. And we see lots of funds which are in our, corporates rather than in regular funds. I mean, good thing, in the last couple of days we got raised some good new or additional funds in Europe, but that's something the corporates can play a good role, and altogether that's one of the reasons why I think Munich is as wealthy as it is and has all those scenarios. Maybe one of the reasons why you came here, because there's such a broad density of those corporates, which is totally different in Berlin.
For your companies yourselves, where do you see the growth coming for the next years? Is that something that you see more abroad, or will it be Munich too?
For us, I would say in terms of revenues, it's a little bit of DACH, the German, Austria, Switzerland region, and then it's definitely wider Europe, more than Germany. And certainly not Munich or Bavaria as a core focus area.
Yeah. I mean, you obviously.
So, for us, in Germany, the focus is very much on trains. We launched three trains or paratrains this year, and are planning to double that at least next year. But outside of Germany, all the core product stuff like buses is the area to grow. I mean, the US, a couple of weeks ago, we took over the Turkish market leader, and we're also looking to start the business over in Latin America as well as some other Asian countries. So for bus, I think it's abroad, but for trains, we are going to see quite some growth in Germany as well.
For us, absolutely going abroad. Could be going to the US or the Asian market.
For us, it's Europe at first, and we're probably going to two more countries next year. So Europe is big, and but for us, it looks like we're going to be headquartered still here, and have little offices around the countries, and then maybe New Zealand is the camping travel.
I mean, for you guys, it must be great, because I think the camping thing is going crazy right now. I think you're totally into the sustainability with your trains and stuff. I've got a good idea for a train. Maybe we talk afterwards. But is that something where you do see a difference too? Because you are so natured and grounded and founded with nature here in Munich, that sustainability is something that is more conscious over here than maybe in Berlin? Or is that something that is, in the total perspective, overall, the startups' sustainability coming up?
It's a good question. I have no idea about Berlin when it comes to this topic, but for us, when it came to having camper vans, being on the road, diesel scandal, I don't know, whatever that is in English, but it was a big topic for us.
The English word is Volkswagen.
Volkswagen. We have a lot of those.
Oh, really?
But no, but when you, like our product also was like you're in a camping, you're outside, and it's all about nature. So as far as we do serve right now, our bus is all basically supported by this, and it's a big thing for us because of the product. I guess
for
you
us,
guys
there
as
is no particular reason. I mean, in Berlin, there is a certain community, like people who are really, I think, the non-proper term would be alternative, kind of, right? Vegan and hipster style, and they obviously propagate that close to nature and sustainability piece, which is good. Here in Munich, just because we're close to nature, it doesn't really make the difference. Across our average bookings, for instance, Germany at least is leading in compensating the rides by about 10%, where on average is only 6, unfortunately, worldwide.
We've got the Silicon Valley, we've got the Silicon Lane and Silicon Beach, which is San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles. Is there a Silicon Munich, or is there wording that you would like, or maybe, I think everybody has something else in my mind, but the Alpine foothills, is there something like wording that you guys would wish for Munich as a point of tech companies that are founded here? Because there is none yet. We could found it right now, and you can all spread it.
So,
Go ahead.
And we can vote for it if you got two. And then it's not that you have to do this avalanche. Beats everybody. No, it really it works.
I remember that.
Yeah, avalanche. You do it once, nobody knows about it. You will always beat them in first place. Sorry.
So, I don't think this is very helpful. I mean, we have our core assets and value already, and as I said in the beginning, it's about doing serious work and starting serious companies. And there is a certain danger if you got just a term, a hype comes with it, and a hype itself doesn't bring any value.
Maybe it's Serious Valley.
With all the avalanches, right?
I'm wondering why you asked this question, because today in the opening ceremony, Britta said Maker Mountains.
Maker Mountains, right.
Yes.
Maybe I've been to the loo at that point, I don't know. Maker Mountains. Maker Mountains is good. Mm-hmm. Then we take it for Maker Mountains. Guys, thank you very much for your time. I think everybody in the back, thank you.
Thanks.
Everybody back is happy to get on stage. All the best. Cheerio.